Welcome back, and we're back in China for this weekend. It is in Macau, which is gonna be at 6 a.m. for me. It's probably different for you, but very early for me. So probably not gonna watch this live. But for China, usually these cards are filled with Chinese fighters or fighters from around China, like Russia, Sergey Pavlovich, and these like Australia and these other dudes. So you know, it's a decent batch. It's a decent batch for the type of fighters, type of matchups you can make in China, but it's not a bad one. I will give this card like a 6.5 out of 10. It's a good one. It's just not spectacular. It is a fight night, of course, but anyways, let me not waste your time and let's start with the first fight of the night. We got at women's strawweight, we got Luma Lookboonmee versus Jacqueline Amorim. We got a Thai fighter with a Muay Thai base versus a Brazilian fighter with a BJJ base. So very stereotypical, very Street Fighter-esque. But anyways, Lookboonmee, Amorim, both of these fighters are coming off a loss after a decent win streak. And Lookboonmee got laid and prayed in her last fight, which is not looking that great if she's facing off with a BJJ fighter. But Amorim, she was on a decent winning streak, 4 fights by finish, which is pretty decent for a WMMA fighter. The thing is, her last fight, she fought like this Japanese fighter. And this Japanese fighter hadn't fought like in 2 years. She goes in there, defends Amorim's takedowns. Oh man, she got held for like a while, but she just was able to survive and start defending the takedowns. And after that, was able to piece up Amorim on the feet very easily. So if Lookboonmee can defend the takedowns and keep it on the feet, she has a very solid chance of winning this. And Amorim, if she doesn't take down Lookboonmee and just gets the submission in the first round, is not looking too great for her, and that's why I'm gonna go with Lookboonmee winning the first fight of the night. I do think she has a higher chance to win this. Amorim has a decent chance, but I'm going with Lookboonmee defending the takedowns and getting a decision win, just winning the second 2 rounds after this one. So after the first round, so yeah, Lookboonmee first round. Next up, we got at featherweight, we got Kangjie versus Ramon Taveras. Interesting matchup. It's not that bad. Kangjie, he's coming from the road. That sounded so racist when I said his name like that. But anyways, he's coming from the from the road to UFC. He has like 40 regional fights. I mean, not like that, not that many, but a lot of these Chinese fighters, they have like a bunch of regional fights, and they fight like 6-7 times a year. Like these guys, I don't know what it is with Chinese fighters doing that. It's not. They're like. There's pros and cons to that. Obviously the pros is you get to fight a lot, but the cons is a lot of the guys they're fighting are pretty trash can level. So it's not like they're gaining a lot of experience. And also they take a lot of damage, fighting that many times, not able to recover in a year, because like for multiple years in a row. So I don't know. But either way, he's coming from the Contender Series. He had a couple, like 2 close fights in, the road to UFC, not the Contender Series, my bad. He had like 2 close fights in the road to UFC. And so he is a brawler. He is, he throws bombs. He's not afraid to throw bombs in the pocket at all, which kind of like leaves himself kind of exposed. But it's still, it's been working for him a little bit. He's now fighting off with Raymond Taveras. Raymond Taveras, he is like more of a technical southpaw striker. Keeps it more cleaner on the feet. It's just Raymond Taveras, in my opinion, is a little bit too slow and a little bit too hittable on the feet, and because of that, I'm gonna lean towards the first Chinese fighter on the card winning against Raymond Taveras, Kangjie. I can see him landing those bombs way more consistently on Taveras than Taveras can be able to piece up Kangjie. Someone who, Chinese fighters have iron chins. I don't know what it is with these Chinese fighters. Also Koreans, Japanese fighters, not really. But Chinese fighters, they have that, like, I don't know what it is. They probably do like Shaolin monk exercises where like they hang themselves. Have you ever seen the Shaolin monks? They hang themselves like with a rope, like literally hanging themselves, and they just they do like their like pose where they're able to stay like that and not choke to death. But anyways, Kangjie, he's got that iron chin genetics. I don't think he's gonna go down to Raymond Taveras, and I do think he's gonna start breaking down Raymond Taveras probably in the second into the third round. Maybe get the finish, but I'm gonna go with Kangjie winning this fight by decision. But maybe he does get the finish and like around the third round by like a body shot or something like that. But I'm going with Kangjie winning this one for China. Next up at women's strawweight, we got Angela Hill versus Yingnan Zhang. Now, if you do not know who this Xiong, I'm just gonna call her Xiong. If you don't know who this girl is, she is obviously Chinese, but she is a former one championship strawweight champ. So basically, she was like the Zhang Weili of one FC. But the one FC, they cut her division. They cut her division, so she basically became a free agent for a while. And finally the UFC picked her up, and she is now facing off with Angela Hill. And this Yang girl, she's pretty good. She's well rounded. She's decent. She is up there in age though. She's like 38 around there. She's she's been in the one FC for a while, and it's not looking too great for her in the UFC for like a future because she is up there in age. It's just, but she's pretty decent. So it's not, I don't know. And women's strawweight, let's be honest. WMA in general is kind of weak, so maybe she can have some success here and there. But she's well-rounded. Angela Hill's well-rounded. Yang Zhenan, she had a pretty long reigning champ lineage at ONE FC. She did lose to one time as a champ to Angela Lee, like another Angela. But she was to regain the belt, and she redeemed that loss. Not exactly in that order, but she still regained that loss. And she was to defend her belt way more after that loss. But she's pretty decent in my opinion. Angela Hill, listen, she's not bad. She's pretty decent as well. She's a good test for many fighters for her division. A good gatekeeper. It's just she's been looking very slow and old in her last two fights. It looked like she escaped the retirement home with her diapers all soiled and stuff. She looked just decrepit in her last two fights, and I'm going with Yang Zhenan winning this just by being slightly younger. Angela Hill, she's also up there in age, and Yang is 30, 39 around the 38, so she's not young herself. It's just I'm going with her. I think she's gonna be slightly better. She's slightly bigger as well, and coming here slightly more younger, more athletic, and I'm gonna go with her winning 8 by decision. Next up, we got at bantamweight, we got Rey Tsuruya. We haven't seen this guy in a while. Versus Jesus Aguilar. Rey Tsuruya basically is like another what's his name? Tatura Taira, where he is a Japanese wrestler, really good grappling. He is kind of big for his division, bantamweight 5'6". I mean, not that big actually. Now that I think about it, but I thought he was bigger when I looked at it, but never mind. He is 5'6", so not that big. But anyways, good grappler, good takedowns. His striking is a little bit weak. And, there's a lot for him to improve. He kind of is just like a younger Tatsura Taira, where he's still very young. I think he's like 24 around there. So he's not exactly at the level of Tatsura Taira, but he still can improve to that level in the future. But yeah, we haven't seen this guy in like in over a year. His last fight was against Joshua Van, which is crazy if you think about it. Joshua Van right now is the current champ with a title defense. And a little bit over a year ago, he was just coming off a Rey Tsuruya win. That's crazy. But either way, Rey Tsuruya, he's good. He's not that bad. Even though he lost to Joshua Van, like in that way, dominantly he lost. In hindsight, it's not a bad performance at all. He didn't do that bad in the grappling. He was getting pieced up pretty bad, but that doesn't mean Rey Tsuruya has bad striking or bad striking defense. It's Joshua Van. Before that, he did pretty good. I think he's only 1-1 right now in the UFC, but he can prove a lot. He's still young. He hasn't fought in over years, so meaning he can definitely come into this fight way more prepared. And he's now facing with Jesus Aguilar, someone who, he already kind of established himself in the UFC as someone who's like okay striking, okay grappling, okay well-roundedness. But he kind of already, you can kind of say plateaued. And Rey Tsuruya, I would even say the last time we seen him against Joshua Van with that version of Rey Tsuruya probably beat Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar is, he's not that bad. It's just, he doesn't really have that it factor where someone like Rey Tsuruya does have talent, has potential, can come into this fight way more better in the striking and the grappling. He has that size advantage as well. So I do think he's probably going to easily take down Jesus Aguilar in the first round, control him, and continue that into the second round, and maybe get like a third round submission win, which I don't know. Jesus Aguilar, has some pretty good grappling of his own to defend some of Rey Tsuruya's submission attempts, but maybe we see Rey Tsuruya, with his gas tank as well, be able to just out-grapple Jesus Aguilar for 3 rounds straight, and that's kind of what I feel like is going to happen. So I'm going to go with Rey Tsuruya getting it done for Japan with it by decision win. Next up, this is a decent one. At bantamweight, we got Aoriqileng versus Cody Haddon. I am excited to see Cody Haddon back. We haven't seen this guy in a long time as well. I think the last time he fought was in 2024, so much longer than the last time we saw Rey Tsuruya. But either way, Aoriqileng, he's not. He's like for what he does, he's not that bad. He is like a southpaw, long rangey kickboxer, good takedown defense, and from southpaw he has some clean, right jabs, left hand crosses. He's clean with the striking. Calf kicks, body kicks, head kicks. He for what he does, he's not bad at all. But he's not facing out with Cody Haddon, someone who is pretty good. He has potential. I'm not saying he is like a future champ at all. In my opinion, he's not gonna be champ, but he can definitely reach that, like, let's say like the top 10, maybe top 5 in a couple years from now. Cody Haddon. That's why I do think he's pretty good. He has a lot of potential. And we haven't seen this guy in a while, but he can definitely come into the fight way more better than the last time we've seen him. And that's because he's still young and he has a good base in terms of his boxing. His boxing is really good, and I do think there's gonna be a stand-up battle between both of these fighters. Maybe Cody Haddon does shoot here and there, but I can see Aoriqileng defending the takedowns. But Cody Haddon, the boxing, he has some pretty good head movement, some pretty good slips, combinations in the pocket, and I do think Aoriqileng is gonna, he's gonna be able to land a couple times a jab here and there. But I do think when Cody Haddon does able to get past the distance into the boxing range, I think that's where he's gonna be able to have really good success against Aoriqileng and get it done. I can't listen. Aoriqileng, he is Chinese. He has a bunch of experience in the regional scene. Like I said, he's gonna have like 50 regional fights. But I don't think he's gonna go down to Cody Haddon. He has that Chinese iron chin. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Cody Haddon winning by decision, 3-round straight domination. We're gonna see a domination, in my opinion, by Cody Haddon. But yeah. Next up, we got at welterweight Ding Meng versus Jose Henrique. This fight, in my opinion, is one of the weirdest fights to have ever exist. It legit just shows sometimes the UFC isn't the highest level promotion in terms of all the fighters in the regional and in the promotion. Ding Meng, his last fight was a loss in the Contender Series in 2024. He hasn't fought since then. I think he's fought like a couple times, maybe amateur fights. If you look at his ESPN, his record, he hasn't fought since 2024, since his loss in the Contender Series. And if you look at the, what was it, that Tapology page for Ding Meng, he does like a couple more fights after his loss. But I think those are amateur bouts, if I'm not mistaken, because they're not counted in the ESPN website. But either way, Ding Meng hasn't fought a pro fight since 2024 and has been a loss. And in 2026, he is signed to the UFC. This dude who hasn't fought in over 2 years. His last fight was a horrible fight, by the way. It was like such a bad fight between him and his opponent in the Contender Series, where the winner didn't even get signed as well. Ding Meng, he's the loser, and he's the one entering the UFC 2 years after. Dude is gonna be able to call himself a UFC fighter when his last performance was a loss 2 years ago. I'm telling you right now, I don't know. The UFC is kind of a little bit desperate to find Chinese fighters. That's what kind of seems like, but for this card. But yeah, it's just weird. But Ding Meng, he is like a counter striker. He is very flat-footed, very, very inactive in terms of all he really does is just wait for his opponent. He just circles around you, like waddles around you, waiting for his opponent to make the first move. This dude does not make the first move at all. He has a bunch of KOs in the regional scene, but there's probably just like they just probably just find like random dudes in China just saying like, hey, you want some free social credit? You want free social credit? Here, you fight this dude, and that's basically what I'm guessing is happening over there in China. But either way, Ding Meng, he's not facing out with Jose Henrique, someone who is also not good in my opinion. He also hasn't fought in 2 years. I think the last fight was in 2024. I don't know what happened to Jose Henrique. He was supposed to make his debut earlier, like I think in 2025, but some of his fights got canceled, so it's not entirely his fault. He hasn't fought in since 2024, but at least he's coming off a win. He did lose his Contender Series fight. I forgot to who. But either way, he lost his Contender Series fight. But after that, he went on a winning streak in the regional scene in Brazil. But he's his last fight is at least a win. So there's something, at least somewhat better, somewhat better. But Jose Henrique, he is huge, 6'3". I mean, Ding Meng is 6'2", but Jose Henrique has a long reach. He's huge. He has like power behind the jab. He dropped one of his opponents, basically got the KO with a jab. It's just Jose Henrique, he just has like low fight IQ offensively and defensively. Like he has he has a really solid base for like being a dangerous fighter. It's just this dude still needs a lot to work on in his MMA game. Just saying. There's gonna be a very low level fight for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like gonna be like one of the worst fights to ever exist. But I'm gonna lean towards Jose Henrique. He has like slightly more tools. He has a slightly longer reach. He can definitely pick apart Ding Meng at range if he, learns to effectively jab and stay behind that jab. Hey, listen, he just jabs in this fight, he wins easily, like in the first round, in my opinion. But I don't think he's gonna do that. I think he's gonna go into range with throwing that right hand and probably get caught. But I don't know. I don't know. This is such a lower level fight where it's hard to who's gonna make the first mistake rather who's gonna make the actual smart play. But I'm gonna go with Jose Henrique. I do lean towards him winning this one. Probably by decision. I don't know. It's probably gonna be a horrible fight. Maybe he holds down Ding Meng for like 3 rounds straight. Just takes him down, holds him down. Maybe that could happen. But I'm going with Jose Henrique winning by decision. Last fight on the prelims, we got at middleweight. We got Yitzhak Lee versus Luis Felipe Diaz. Now, I'm going to be genuinely honest, between both of these fighters, there's like very little film footage at all. Yitzhak Lee, the only thing I was able to find was a compilation of his highlights on YouTube. I couldn't find anything else other than that. I do think his fights are probably like on some like Korean website where you gotta like log in and stuff, and I'm not doing that. So I don't know, but either way, his highlights look pretty bad. They look legit look like low lights in my opinion. So it's whatever. And he trains with I forgot who he trains with, but he trains like I think with the Iron Turtle. I think he trains like from like a decent Korean gym. But he's in my opinion he's not that good. But Luis Felipe. I mean, he's solid. He kind of looks like the mix between Anthony Joshua and Alex Pereira. If you look at his fights, he legit looks like a mix between both of those fighters. Just saying, like it's kind of weird to look at. But Luis Felipe, he's not that bad. He's got some decent striking, decent power. He's athletic. He's a little bit small for middleweight. He's 5'10", but he's dense. He's he kind of is like a very dense fighter. So it's whatever. But he is pretty small for middleweight in my opinion. But he can do, he cannot be that, he can do some, like, what I'm trying to say is he can get like a decent winning streak, like his first couple wins, like at middleweight. But in my opinion, he low-key should move down because, yeah, he is pretty small. But anyways, he's decent striking, decent grappling. He has like 2 losses. One of them was like to like a pretty good Bellator fighter, so not a bad loss at all. But aside from that, he's okay. And I do think because he's okay, I do think he's probably going to beat Yitzhak Lee, so give me Luis Felipe Diaz, probably like first round submission win. Probably. So yeah, give me that. Now in the first fight of the main card, we got at flyweight, we got Alex Perez versus Sumudaerji. Interesting matchup. This matchup, not trying to be racist or anything like that, but this matchup low-key kind of does remind me a lot from Aoriqileng versus Cody Haddon, where we got a really good boxer versus a southpaw striker. And Sumudaerji fights very similar to Aoriqileng. I'm not trying to be racist or anything. It's legit. They do fight very similar, and like they have similar body types. And this sounds so racist, but I'm not trying to be racist or anything, But Alex Perez, since his, since you could say his fights with the main event, the dance partner, Deiveson Figeuiredo, since that fight, his title shot against FIGI, this dude has been fighting like a bunch of grapplers. We got Pantoja, Tatura Taita, Mokayev, that one Kazakhstan fighter, and like I think I'm forgetting someone else, but he's been fighting a lot of grapplers, and he does struggle in the grappling. He gets taken down here and there, but when he fights a striker like that one Brazilian dude, I forget his name, and his last fight, Charles Johnson, but Alex Perez, he does really good. He's able to flow and get the KO, so he is coming off a KO win over Charles Johnson, and yeah, it's because Alex Perez, he's very solid on the feet. He has, his takedown. I mean, not his takedowns. His defense on the feet, his footwork, his head movement is really good when he's fighting a striker. And on the front foot, he's got good head movement, good combinations. And, he has power. So, Alex Perez, when he's not fighting a grappler, he does really well. And he is fighting Sumudaerji, someone who is not a grappler. So, Sumudaerji, he is a southpaw striker. Like I said, he's very similar to Aoriqileng, where southpaw striker, clean right jab, clean left cross, good body kicks, calf kicks, head kicks. It's just I do think that type of style is gonna like not do great against Alex Perez, someone who is a really good striker, can able to slip underneath that jab and go to the body, who is really good, really experienced in the striking and find the KO. Maybe not the KO in my opinion. Not that thing about it because I forgot, Sumudaerji, he is part of the Chinese Iron Chin lineage, but maybe I do think Alex Perez is gonna be able to flow in this fight and be able to outstrike Sumudaerji to like 3 rounds decision at least. So yeah, I know what Alex Perez getting a 3-round decision win over Sumudaerji. And it is a big step up for Sumudaerji to begin with. It is Alex Perez. But either way, welterweight, we got Muslim Salikhov versus Jake Matthews. It's a decent matchup, I guess. Muslim Salikhov, for his, he's up there in age. He's like 40-something, I think. But, for what he is, he has, decent power still. Power, is the last thing that goes. You hear that a bunch from older fighters trying to cope why they're not that bad. I'm joking. Power is the last thing to go. He has power, crazy power, but he can, he has some moments of explosivity, some moments of athleticism in his fights. It's just he is slow, meaning his defense is not there anymore in terms of his like reaction speed. He gets clipped pretty easily in his fights, and also he doesn't have the reaction speed to sprawl and defend the takedowns, which he gets taken down pretty easily in his fights. You can say his offense is still pretty decent, but his defense is not there anymore. So, it really depends if he can get the KO like within the first round he wins, but he doesn't. Then he does struggle a lot down the line in his fights. But he's facing out with Jake Matthews, someone who is still he's in his prime now. He's well rounded, decent striking, decent grappling. So far I don't think he's ever been KO'd. So maybe this is the first time he gets KO'd, but I don't think so. I do think his defense will be somewhat there. Maybe he gets clipped hard, but maybe he survives. But I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be the best moment for Salikhov. Just dropping Jake Matthews one time, but I don't think he's going to have success much against Jake Matthews. Someone who, in my opinion, can land the better shots and take down Salikhov. And I think once Matthews, like let's say in the first round, he takes down Salikhov, I think he's going to start to really go heavy in the grappling and be like, this guy can't defend my takedowns. He can't get back on top. I mean, Salikhov has some good takedown defense. I mean, some good stand up, good, decent sprawls, decent stand up, decent scrambles. I mean, if it wasn't obvious, look at his first name, Muslim. So he obviously, he changed with the Muslim Russians over there. So, his grappling is there, but it's just his takedown defense is kind of non-existent. So I'm gonna go with Jake Matthews. I think he's gonna have overall the better success. He's gonna be able to find the better openings on Muslim, then take him down. And Muslim can have like decent good moments here and there throughout the 3-rounder fight. But I'm going with Jake Matthews winning by decision. Maybe he gets a submission in the 3rd round, but I don't think so. I'm with Jake Matthews winning a close fight, but I do think he's gonna have the better moments in the striking and the grappling. So yeah, Jake Matthews decision. Next up at bantamweight, we got Kai Asakura, the return of Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. Kai Asakura, interesting. He's right now 0-2 right now in the UFC. And it's such an interesting, dude, I don't know what it is, but either way, Kai Asakura, he was a former Ryzen champ. So meaning when he got signed to the UFC, he must have got a really good contract, especially because he got an immediate title fight against Pantoja, which it is like, looking back at it, it was pretty weird. They kind of put all their eggs into one basket, hoping for Kai Asakura to beat Pantoja and, I guess you have a Japanese champ in the UFC, but it was an interesting move. Kai Asakura before, at Ryzen wasn't like a monster or anything like that, but I guess they really had confidence in him becoming champ. But either way, he lost against Pantoja. And so because I'm pretty sure he had a pretty good contract, they wanted him to get a clear win, a clear rebound. And so they gave him Tim Elliott, which he also lost that one. And looking back, Tim Elliott, he has some pretty good grappling, some pretty good submission threat game. He just Kai Asakura just has 0 grappling, so of course he lost that one. He was piecing up Tim Elliott on the feet, but he got taken down and couldn't do much on the ground. But either way, he's moving up to bantamweight to face off with Cameron Smotherman, someone who, in my opinion, is one of like the least skilled fighters in the UFC. He is, even at bantamweight, he is just not that good, and his grappling, offensively or defensively, it really isn't there. So looking really good for Kai Asakura. So he's gonna, Kai Asakura is gonna be coming into this fight with lighter man skill, lighter man speed, and not gonna worry too much about the grappling of Smotherman. And I feel like he can probably defend the takedowns and get himself to his first UFC win against Smotherman. So I'm with Kai Asakura. He's gonna be able to piece up Smotherman. Maybe not get the KO. Maybe he does get the KO. You know what? I think he probably does get the KO. So if he's gonna get the KO, probably is gonna be around. It has to be the second round, because if he's gonna get the KO, he's gonna have to hurt Smotherman early into the first round and then get the second round KO. But yeah, I'm going with Kai Asakura, second round KO. So yeah, that makes sense. Next up, we got at heavyweight, we got Sergey Pavlovich versus Teixeira. Heavyweight, so it's a banger for sure. No, I'm joking. Sergey Pavlovich, I mean, he's good. He's good. This is a, listen, look at this right here. Let me click off because it only shows when you only have it like this. Number 3, Sergey Pavlovich, number 3, which, you know, he is realistically the number 3 right now, versus the number 15, Deiveson Figeuiredo. A huge jump up for Deiveson Figeuiredo. This is the thing. Sergey Pavlovich, he is a monster. He is a monster. Listen, his last couple fights, you can say his last 4 fights were not that great. He lost to Tom Aspinall by first round KO, and then he lost to Volkov by decision. Which, listen, Volkov, Aspinall, one's right now the current champ, and the other one, in my opinion, a couple fights ago should already been fight for the belt already. But either way, you know, 2 losses that are not bad at all, and not by no means. And then he gets his first win after those 2 losses against who was it? It was Waldo Court. No, who did he beat? Oh, it was Rosenstrike. I forgot. He beat someone. It was Rosenstrike by decision. It was not a great performance, but he gets it done. And then after that was Waldo Cortez Acosta, which, you know, it's not a bad win at all. Like it's a decent win. You know, even though Cortez just lost to Volkov, it does kind of make his Volkov loss not look that bad as well. So it's a give and take, basically, that type of win. But he's good. He's still good. He's only losing to Tom Aspinall, Volkov, and then you can say in the first fight in the UFC, his debut fight against Amorim. Those are his only 3 losses ever. So he's really good. He's been beating a lot of guys, and he's now in a 2-fight winning streak after those 2 losing fight stints. But he's not facing Teiveson Figeuiredo, someone who, in my opinion, is not that good. I thought he was decent for a while. You know, when he made his debut, he ran through Justin Tafa with an elbow, just dropped him in the first round. And that's because he's huge, pretty good striking, pretty good grappling. He's well rounded, and just because he's huge, that makes him a pretty big threat at heavyweight. But he doesn't even have the longer reach against Pavlovich. He has an 8-inch reach. Pavlovich has an 84-inch reach. And so he's good. He's long. It's just his defense, in my opinion, is really not that good. He leaves his chin up in the air like a lot, and when he's striking, and that's why what's his name, Derek Lewis was able to chin him in the first round. He almost did. He kind of wobbled Derek Lewis in the first round like a little bit, but then he got dropped in the second, like right after that. So yeah, his defense is it's very questionable. But you know, after that, he gives himself a win against what's his name, Tai Tuivasa. All he really did in that fight was lay and pray, and for 3 rounds straight, and that win didn't even age that well. We saw Tai Tuivasa get laid and prayed in his last fight once again. So either way, you know, he's not that bad. It's just he lost to Derek Lewis. You know, Derek Lewis. You know, I mean, it's a give and take. It's heavyweight, but I don't know. I still think he's probably gonna get destroyed in the first round. I still think we're gonna get a vintage Pavlovich fight against Teixeira. I don't know. I don't really trust Teixeira in many ways. You know, he's not like a high level striker or anything like that. And so I'm going with Pavlovich. He has a longer reach. I do think he's gonna get the first round KO. So just Teixeira just leave his chin up open and just bam, he just gets dropped. So yeah, give me that first round KO. Light heavyweight, we got the co-main. Light heavyweight, we got Mingyang, the return of Mingyang versus Alonzo Menifield. Man, Mingyang, I'm still a little bit frustrated in his last fight. He should have beaten Johnny Walker. He should have beaten him. He won the first round. He was gonna beat him for sure. It's just he went down to a calf kick. Man, that sucks so bad. He went down to a calf kick. I guess he lost. He lost that fight. But if he didn't go down to the calf kick, he for sure would have beaten Johnny Walker. And I still think if you even do the rematch, let's say he loses the first fight, whatever. You make a rematch against him and Johnny Walker, I do think Zhang Mingyang runs through Johnny Walker. And so, kind of like Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera, where, you know, Sean O'Malley lost to Marlon Vera, but did he? No, he didn't. And yeah, we saw the rematch, and yeah. But anyways, Zhang Mingyang, he's coming back from that loss. And listen, let's be honest, he doesn't have elite wins still. He's touted as he has potential at first division. It's just he doesn't have elite wins yet. He has like a win over Brenton Ribeiro, his debut fight. He finished Ozzy Diaz in the first round, which is a little bit slightly faster than the highly touted prospect as in Attila Gautier. He finished him faster than Attila Gautier, so you can even say Zhang Mingyang is a slightly better striker than Attila Gautier at middleweight. But either way, Zhang Mingyang after that went on to be an unranked old Anthony Smith, which it's still a good performance for what he did. But yeah, he doesn't really have elite wins, but I do think he's still pretty good. I do think he has like his striking is there, his grappling is there, his power is there. I do think he has a lot of tools to make him really good for this division. Do I think he's a future champ? No. I do think he does struggle once he reaches like the top 5. But he's still really good. I do think he has a deep tool bag for what it is. Like I said, Chinese fighters, they have like 30 regional fights. And so he like started fighting pretty young. So, he still has, you can say he's like entering his prime right now. I do think he's like 28 around there, but either way, 27. Loki, actually, Loki, want to check. He's 27, so he's still like reaching that prime. So I do think he has a lot of potential. But I don't know, maybe future champ, maybe not. Maybe he doesn't get himself a title fight in the future, but who knows? But either way, he's not facing all with Alonzo Menifield. Alonzo Menifield, he is a UFC unk. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He's now up there in age. I think he's like 38 around there. But he's been hovering around the top 15. Going in and out of the rankings for like the last couple of years. He is around that ranking, that skill level, I guess you can say. But he's not that bad. He's got some some good tools. His boxing it's somewhat there. He's cleaned up his boxing throughout his time in the UFC. His wrestling, it's whatever. He he hasn't really never really out wrestled a like I said, a decent UFC fighter. And so really kind of I feel like this fight is gonna be a stand-up battle between both of these fighters. Maybe Alonzo Menifield holds Mingyang to the against the cage for a couple times here and there, but in those moments Mingyang can be dangerous with those elbows. So maybe wouldn't be a smart plan for Menifield, but I don't know. I'm like out in the open, Menifield is very hittable, and Zhang Mingyang has quick reaction speed, quick reaction time. We've seen it a couple times already. He's able to like land the counter elbow or counter strike off the back foot as well. So, and Menifield has been dropped like that before. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how this fight goes out realistically. But I do think Mingyang just kind of clears Menifield and like probably into the second round. I feel like it couldn't hurt Menifield in the first round. Just drop him, bam, and then second round he finally gets a finish. So, and also the Chinese fighters, like I said, they had that iron chin. He's not gonna get dropped. And so Menifield, chin for chin, power for power, it's gonna go to Mingyang for sure. So I'm with the Mingyang second round KO win over Alonzo Menifield and get himself back into the conversation of being a dangerous what would it be, like title contender in the future soon. So maybe, But yeah, give me Zhang Mingyang second round KO. Now for the main event, we got Song Yadong versus Deiveson Figeuiredo. Banger for a fact. Obviously, it's going to be early in the morning, so I'm not going to be able to watch it live, but it's still going to be a really good one. I can't wait for it. But either way, Song Yadong, he's really good. He's really good. He does a lot of things good. He entered the UFC pretty young, which is like, it's a pro and con. It's just, even when he entered the UFC, he already was pretty technical. He was already really well-rounded. He was really, really good. And so, he does a lot of things correctly, in my opinion. Like his boxing is there. His kickboxing, his offense and his defense, his head movement, his footwork, his timing, his footwork, it's really well. It's really good. And he's able to go in and out, place his feet, what they call it, plant his feet when he needs to find those power shots. He really does very little wasted movement in his striking as well. It's really good. His grappling as well is really, his wrestling offensively and defensively is there. He's able to defend a lot of takedowns and be able to find a takedown himself. Have success in that category. Song Yadong is really good, and well-rounded. We haven't really seen BJJ by Song Yadong that much, but I do think if he's gonna get like in a grappling match against Deiveson Figeuiredo, I don't think he's gonna struggle that much. Like he's gonna struggle here and there because it is Deiveson Figeuiredo, but I do think Song Yadong can have success in certain moments and be able to keep the fight on the feet. And Song Yadong is good. And listen, as much as Song Yadong is really good, there's two things that, or three things technically, but there's two things that Song Yadong has struggled with in the UFC. The first one is his age. Like I said, he did enter the UFC pretty young. He entered like around 19 and around in 2017, which is kind of funny because Deiveson Figeuiredo also entered the UFC in 2017, and they have a 10-year age gap right now. Song Yadong is 28 and Deiveson Figeuiredo is 38. So, little fun fact, I guess, for you. But either way, Song Yadong, he entered the UFC pretty young, meaning when he entered the UFC, he was already really good. Like I said, these guys have like 50 you can say 50 amateur fights and 50 regional pro fights, but they have a lot of experience. But Song Yadong did enter the UFC pretty young, and so he still had a lot to learn. He's just he had a couple of brick walls here and there in his time in the UFC. He didn't enter the rankings a little bit too soon as well, so that's why Song Yadong kind of hasn't been really be having success like consistently. He does kind of like hit like a wall and then reset and then hit the wall again and reset. But oh, and yeah. But the second thing is also how would I put it? He is like I was saying, he's kind of big for bantamweight. He's like kind of like your average build. It's just he does struggle with tall, rangy fighters, which you can say he does struggle a bit with Marlon Vera. I mean, I think they're like around the same size or high or whatever. He also did struggle with Cutler Phillips. Cutler Phillips was just styling on Song Yadong in that fight. He also struggled with Corey Sandhagen. And Corey Sandhagen, when he fights like a minority, he gets like a minority boost. He becomes way more dangerous for some reason. I don't know why, but it kind of is like another what's his name? I forgot that dude's name, but what's his name? But like a Joe Piper or whatever. I don't know. But either way, Song Yadong, he still struggled with that. And also his last fight was Sean O'Malley, which, it was a close fight. Listen, his last couple fights where he gets a loss, he still does pretty good. Sean O'Malley, Sean O'Malley's a really high-level striker. And Song Yadong, you can see he definitely has improved and where it was a really close fight against Sean O'Malley. Also, he faced off with Peter Yan. That's his third weakness, in my opinion, because Peter Yan basically is Song Yadong, but like way better, way more experienced. And so, yeah, of course he lost that one. But his fight with Song Yadong and his fight with Sean O'Malley were really good. They were really close, and he did not it was like you can argue say he lost those fights, even though he definitely did lose against Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley. But they were still really close fights where he had really good moments here and there. And so Song Yadong, he's been struggling here and there, but he's finally entering his prime. He is 28, so. And he looked really good in the last two fights against Sean O'Malley and Henry Cejudo. He looked really good. So, Song Yadong, you can say this is his second prime in the UFC for sure. So he's not facing off with Deiveson Figeuiredo, someone who kind of is the opposite. He already been there, done that. At flyweight, he was champ. Had a couple title defenses before entering the Brandon Moreno arc where they had a quadrilogy with each other. And then a little bit after that, moves up to bantamweight. Already has like 7 bantamweight fights, so he already has you can say he's already well adjusted at bantamweight. And so I think this is his 8th bantamweight fight. But Deiveson Figeuiredo, man, you can tell, even though he's up there in age, that lighter man skill has been carrying him for sure because he still looks really sharp, really good at bantamweight. He's up there in age now, but he's still competing with the high level fighters. Even though he's like I think he's like 4-3 right now at bantamweight, he still looks really good, really sharp, and like you can say he still looks in his prime even at his age, which is pretty crazy. But he kind of has like a I don't know what it is, like a modified karate, boxing, Muay Thai type of style, which it is. It's MMA, but Deiveson Figeuiredo kind of has been changing up his style a couple times here and there in the striking. But he does have like a long range, 78-inch reach. He has 1-inch reach advantage over Yadong. But he hits hard. He's able to outstrike some of these bantamweights. And he is, even though he's like like height wise, he's 5'5". He's still really good, and so this fight is really competitive for sure. It's really hard for me to pick who wins this fight between Song Yadong and FIGI. It's really close in the grappling. FIGI has that. No, he developed some good takedowns here and there. His overall grappling is legit, and so there is that grappling route for FIGI to be Song Yadong. It's a really close fight. It's just, I don't know, like, how to explain this. Song Yadong, like I said, he's coming into his prime. He looked really good against Shawn, really good. FIGI, even though he's been looking pretty decent at bantamweight, his last two fights against Umar and Montel Jackson, you can kind of tell FIGI slightly started to finally age. He legit started to finally. He looked slightly slower. His reaction speed wasn't really there. He did struggle against Montel Jackson, which in my opinion, he arguably did lose that against Montel Jackson. He got the win, but Montel Jackson also got robbed against another old Brazilian. What's his name? What's his name? Baralo or whatever. What's his name? I forgot. But either way, back to this fight, Deiveson Figeuiredo. He legit has been looking very slow in his last two fights. He did do pretty good against Peter Yan. Really, like, it was a close fight. I mean, not close fight. Peter Yan did dominate, but he still was doing pretty good in the grappling here and there against Peter Yan. I mean, Song Yadong as well, but I don't know. I feel like Song Yadong going into this matchup against FIGI coming into this matchup with Yadong. I do think like 2 years ago, FIGI would have won this matchup. 2 years ago, he for sure would have won this against a 26-year-old Yadong. But in 2026, I do lean towards Yadong winning this one against FIGI. He's being much more faster, quicker. That boxing and range is going to be really dangerous for FIGI. Someone who starting to finally slow down, even at bantamweight. So it's going to be interesting to see what Yadong is going to come into this fight. Wilmer adjusted, Wilmer well-equipped. And so it's going to be interesting to see. FIGI, listen, he did get dominated against Umar, but it's Umar. But Song Yadong, I feel like he's probably going to beat FIGI, beat him, and finally get himself a title run after this. Finally break through and finally reach those higher ranking spots and in his division at bantamweight. So I don't know with Song Yadong by decision. I don't see him finishing FIGI. Maybe he does, but FIGI, I think he can make it tricky with the grappling, with his own counter shots. Keep Yadong, discourage him here to like finish him. But yeah, I know with Yadong probably winning by decision. Win at least 3 rounds, at least, with the striking, with the grappling. And I think, in 2026, he's going to have the better athleticism, cardio, and beat FIGI. So yeah, give me Song Yadong by decision, win at least 3 rounds against FIGI. And those are all my picks for this weekend in China. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for this card. If you came this far, like and subscribe. And if you think differently, let me know in the comment section below. And goodbye.